And this is something, this is a topic we don't really think of when it comes to Tommy Egan. Because, obviously in the original Power, Ghost was the one with the family and everything. We know that Kanan had a son as well. He had Sean, but when we think of Tommy, he doesn't have that in his life. And, they actually got into a conversation in this episode about whether they could have kids, they weren't specifically saying together, but they were just talking about kids in general. And, Tommy was basically saying, that's not on the cards for me. I don't think that's on the cards for me with the lifestyle that I live, basically. So, I wanted to ask you guys, could you actually see this happening for the character? Because sometimes if we're going to have a whole show that's based on Tommy, sometimes they have to give us the unexpected, thing, like the things that we don't expect of Tommy's character. Because in the original Power, we know him for being, the ruthless guy, the unhinged character, the one with zero tolerance, the one with who's a hothead and everything. But in this, because this show is fully dedicated to him, we kind of have to see a broader brush. Like we have to see him painted in other tones. So do you see potentially Tommy Egan having a child in this series at some point? Like, could that actually be a possibility? And for all we know, it could actually end up being with Mireya. Who knows? But what do you think about that? I just kind of wanted to ask the question. So go ahead, Dana. What do you think about that?
You want them to paint with all the colors of the wind. Um, I it would add a different dynamic to the Tommy character because the only time that we've really seen him in a father role is as Uncle Tommy, or when he was like kind of stepdaddy-ish, maybe to Lakeisha's kid. Um, but we've never fully invested in, Tommy daycare. I am all for giving us something that is the unexpected. I'm all for him having that life. But again, he did kind of say, because of the lifestyle that he lives, it would be very difficult. But at the very same time, Ghost had a whole family, which is really not a great example because he was a terrible husband and kind of father, you can argue. No, he was too good of a father because Tariq was just a booty butthole. He was a terrible husband. But in terms of a kid, I would like to see that dynamic with Tommy. I would like to know what it's like for him to be fiercely protective of someone. And yes, granted, we've seen that with him and Ghost and his family. But when it's your own, there's a difference in that protection level. Uncle Tommy is going to be way different than Daddy Tommy. So I would love to see that. It would be completely unexpected. So yeah, I would go for that hesitantly, not right now. Maybe in like uh, season 5. Only because it's weird because we've been with the character for so long that this is not technically his first showing. Um, I'm on the fence to be honest with you. I don't know. I would like that dynamic if it's able to be executed properly.
Yeah, they definitely would have to implement it in an interesting way. I could definitely see Tommy being the type of father who he's holding the baby in one hand and in the other hand he's got the gun shooting at someone. Like he'll definitely be that kind of father. You know, getting into drive-bys while he's got the baby in the car. So
See, that reminded me of Face Off. Remember the movie Face Off when he was in the car with his son and the son had to put on the big headphones so he doesn't hear
right.
anything? And he was playing like somewhere over the rainbow, and all you saw was like the slow mo action scene of Nicolas Cage and John Travolta shooting out. Oh, it was brilliant. I would like that. Now that you say that, you put that imagery in my head. Yay.
Oh yeah, that was a classic movie, Face Off. I used to love that. But yeah, yeah, I think Tommy would definitely be an interesting father. I'd like to see how it changes him, but then also how his behavior influences the child a little bit and stuff like that. All of that would be interesting to see. But of course, they would have to make it make sense for the story they're telling also. So, which is kind of what you were saying. So, yeah, I agree with you on that one. But Rich, what do you think about that?
Well, first and foremost, that is an excellent question, Gary. And I'll be very curious to hear what the commenters also have to say about that question. But to answer the question specifically, this is what makes it a very tragic situation because OG Power fans know Tommy would have been a father if he didn't kill Holly because she was pregnant when he killed her. So that's why it's a very sad. Yeah, see, that's why it's a very sad and tragic situation because, yeah, I'm pretty sure he never really got over the fact that he had to kill her to save Ghost. But that's why I said what they're telling us in this particular season of Force is that this Mireya character is a lot different than anyone that Tommy has ever dated. You know, he's doing stuff that he's never done before. Like he mentioned, they went to the zoo in this episode. He doesn't normally do this type of stuff. So she's allowing him to see a different way of how to live life. And that's why I say it would be interesting if he did become a father, because then he's going to really have to balance. I mean, like you both said, it's a totally different situation when you have to protect your own kid. And of course, that would change the character dramatically. So I do believe to an extent he is right that he doesn't really think it's possible because of the lifestyle that he lives. But I don't think it's impossible because, as Dana said, Ghost had a family of his own as well. So it's not impossible. But obviously, one thing we do know about Mireya is that she is 100% behind Tommy, because that whole thing when they had their kiss and then they have the conversation, he says, oh, that could be family when he gets the page from Diamond. And then he straight up tells her, he's honest with her and saying, no, this is not a family situation. It's somebody I got to deal with right now. She was very understanding. She didn't leave. She know what type of work he's involved in, and she still wants to stay there. So she is a ride or die. So that's why I say, as a viewer, you want to see that relationship grow and where it goes. But I still kind of feel it's going to be very tragic as far as how it ends. But I want to see what happens. But to answer your question, I think it will be a very good direction to take the Tommy character in, just to show you a different side of him. If he did have someone that he needed to care for. And like Dana mentioned, yes, we did see how he was very close to Cash, Lakeisha's son. Of course, he was close with Tariq. And then, of course, he had issues with Tariq. But it's a totally different situation when it's your own kid. And one thing that I know, and again, I don't have a kid. I'm not a parent. But one thing that I have heard just from people who have kids, they say that it is both a beautiful thing, but it's also a very, very worrying thing, because because you care so much about the kid's safety, what happens to the kid. It doesn't matter how old they get. You always are concerned about how they're doing. I know that. I'm pretty sure anyone that has parents, your parents still care about you to an extent. They're going to always care about you, depending on what kind of parents you have. I'm just saying, but it is a situation where if this is somebody that came from you had a kid, I could understand that's an unconditional love and concern for what is happening to my kid, so on and so forth. So I would like to see what happens if they take that path with Tommy, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see if that's what they're actually going to do, because it's going to take time. That's not something that just happens immediately. That would have to happen over a course of time, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, definitely. Go ahead, Dana.
Just a really quick side note with that thing that Richard brought up, with the fact that he said, no, this is not family. I was so excited that he said that, because he's able to compartmentalize family and business. I was afraid that he was like, yeah, that's my brother, but no, family is family. And what's going on with the whole Diamond situation, that's not my family. This is business. So I loved that little scene right there, because I didn't want the two to cross over. Which still makes me think that if something was to go down, he would easily choose himself.
Yeah. Wait, so say that last part again. You think he would choose himself if
Yeah, because you know, your family, you know, it put things in certain perspectives. Like I do believe that if something happened with D-Mac, Tommy would try to protect him because that's his family. As opposed to if something happened to Diamond, I don't think it would be of that intensity
all
because
right.
he said that is not family.
Yeah.
It's business. So you look at have a certain outlook and you treat people differently when it comes to business and family. So that little nugget when he said that's, you know, he didn't even say that's business. He said no, that's not family. It's like yes, because I don't want there to be too much blending
Right.
within that. I like seeing work Tommy, family Tommy.